Hello, and welcome back to MacArthur Manor. This is our 5th episode. Can you believe it? We got to the 5th episode.
Dude, it feels like the 100th.
Wait, what?
I don't know. I just
is
feel like
that like a bad
it.
thing or is that a good
I
thing?
don't know. I feel like we've been doing it. I feel like we're getting in a groove. It feels so normal for you to come over
Yeah.
and shoot. So it's a thing.
It is a thing. It's become a thing.
Yeah.
Usually I've been told by some of my more, famous podcasters that you need like 10 in the tank to first release. And then you just do it one by one. But I think we've been good and just like shooting it out, seeing what happens and like adjusting on the fly. I think we've kind of gotten into a well-oiled machine a little bit here.
I don't. But we'll get there.
It's just like, boom. I was like, we've been doing. No, we haven't. Actually, it's just gotta, insert the Asian part and like the high expectation Asian part of it.
I wouldn't say it's that, but I keep it real.
All right.
All right. So what's going on with the shirt today?
So what is going on? So this is another Breaking Bad T-shirt.
Wait, can I see
that's all I make.
Okay.
Right, all I wear to this podcast, as our listeners have learned by now. It is just a shirt about the RV,
The meth van?
the titular meth van. Titular is a word, okay? Titular,
What does it mean, Mr.
Titular is like the the thing that it's centered on. No. I mean, it can be that if the tits are the subject of what you're talking about, then the titular tits could be a thing.
Oh, so it's a subject. It means subject. Is it a noun?
It's
or
like
adjective.
It's like an adjective.
It's like an adjective or
It is an adjective.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. It's an adjective that describes the thing that is being discussed, the title, right? It's like titular title, Anyway, the titular fan in Breaking Bad, the meth band, the
Titular adjective. Okay. Perhaps one day I will add that to my vocabulary. Perhaps not today, though.
Okay. Well then.
Hey, your hair's looking good on your face. I like it.
It's been 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
2 weeks since we last did it where I shaved it all off.
Yeah.
So it's now grown back because I used the 3.
Okay, I was like, is it a 3?
Yeah, so I used the 3 sized and it did shave some stuff off. So it grew to that.
Do you have a birthmark right here?
No, that appeared, I guess, like in my late high school / early college years.
How have I never seen that?
Yeah, I think it might have been a scar in the beginning. I don't know. Something, basically, it showed up when I was in my late teens, early 20s, and I was just like, oh, it's a thing, I guess.
Does it get darker when you get darker?
I do not know. I do not run tests on my skin.
You just like take profile pictures of yourself?
No, I just live my life.
Okay. Do you look in a mirror?
I mean, yes, I've seen it, but what am I supposed to do?
I'm just checking out, in case it gets darker.
I don't have cancer, if that's what you're asking. Or if I do have cancer, it's been a 20-something-year-old cancer.
Dude, wait, isn't your mom Korean? Isn't she all about your skincare and like your skin and like, Doug, you need to get rid of this because this imperfection on your face makes you look ugly? No.
I mean, that's less of a thing for guys in general, especially unless you were in Korea. I mean, maybe it's more of a thing now in Korea. Like, guys do take care of their skin in Korea. But for my generation, what?
Dude, fun fact. Sorry, finish your point, and I'm so excited.
I just like from my generation in Korea, obviously in both Korea and in America, it's not really a thing to like be overly obsessed about your skin. Though I do practice probably more skincare than the average person in America.
Oh, very good. Very good to hear. All right, quick segue to current events, only just because you're talking about skincare. Did you know that Joe Jonas is helping to destigmatize injectables, aka just taking care of himself? And you're talking about skincare, so that's my current event.
Wait. Joe Jonas is doing what now?
Injecting shit into his face to make him look younger or keep him looking young.
Oh, okay. What do you mean by the destigmatization, though?
Because apparently there's a stigma with people poo-pooing for people trying to look young forever.
I mean, I think it's just a general kind of like, I don't know.
Age naturally?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's like a general trend against people who do that. It's more kind of like, like in the 90s when they had all those kind of like celebrities with Botox. Like Botox became a huge thing, right? With
Was that in
celebrities.
the 90s?
I think so.
Okay.
And so, but then like, now 10, 20, 30 years later, now you're like, oh shit, like that didn't really come out so well. Now, did it?
But you have to imagine that's America, because in Korea it is so commonplace to have surgeries and everything done.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just like, have you ever read the book Homo Deus?
No.
Okay, so basically it's an idea of like how the world is going to look like in the future.
Kim Kardashian.
I don't know if it has Kim Kardashian in per se, but it is kind of like if the people who are rich, right, if they have the opportunity to quote unquote upgrade themselves, will they or won't they, genetically or non, whatever.
They will.
Right. So then like, does that give them an advantage in in the economic opportunities that they have?
Oh yeah, dude, if more beautiful people, again, studies have shown that pretty people get favoritism and also are paid more.
Right. So then, it's just kind of like, if we keep, focusing on these things to improve our, physical or whatever appearances, it makes that now almost like a requirement in order to just keep level, just to stay afloat. And I feel like a lot of that stuff in, Korea is a function of that. It's not just to kind of like, make yourself look good or whatever. I mean, obviously that's part of it, but I think there's like almost the feeling that you have to do that in order to compete with the rest of the society, in terms of like, because they're, I don't know. It's a complicated topic.
How are people aging? Well, I guess, wait, when the last time you went, how are the older women who are looking, as in they've got plastic surgery when they're younger, they're aging now? How is that turning out for them?
I mean, it didn't really. I didn't really see
Check
any
out old
trend.
ladies?
Yeah, I didn't really check out old ladies. And I think the generation, like my mom's generation, for example, I don't think they really went into that. It was really more kind of like the generation after my mom, probably, that started to do that en masse. And even then, it was probably relegated more to the celebrity crowd. I think it's like my generation probably that was the first to like accept this as like a normal trend. So we'll have to see, like maybe 20, 30 years in the future for people my age. But when I went there, I mean, like, it didn't really seem like it was this mass thing where everyone had plastic surgery. I think,
Well, it's because
kind of
everyone
like
in Korea does it subtly, right? They're not adding hip bones or booty injectables or whatever.
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't,
like an eyelid.
I would hesitate to say everyone. I mean, I think that's a Western conception of like what's going on in Korea. Yes, a large amount, obviously, percentage, but yeah, I mean, it's less stigmatized in Korea now. But I would just say that, like, I don't know, it just seems like overly narcissistic to like want to like stay young forever. You know what I
Well,
mean?
that's your own opinion.
Yeah, but it's an opinion shared by many people.
Yeah, but still an opinion.
like what's the purpose, right? Like, why do you want, like, so what if when you're 70 you look like you're 25? What's the point in that exactly?
Because you have to live with yourself every single fucking day. So looking in the mirror, you don't want to just be like, oh God, I just want to shoot myself in the face. Not to say everyone feels
so
that
you're
shit.
saying that people who can't afford that have to go through that. They have to look at themselves
Not at
in the mirror.
all. I mean, everyone has to look at themselves in the mirror, but like, what are you able to accept about yourself? And maybe a surgery will allow you to get one step closer to, accepting what it is the form that you come in. And though it is an alteration, it's not like, it's like getting a haircut.
But like,
you look different. You shave your head, you look different.
But it's just kind of like, if this wasn't available, right? Like, obviously cosmetic surgery and stuff like that wasn't available 200, 300 years ago, right? So how did those people deal with?
You don't know that, dude. Back in the day.
You know what I'm talking about. Stuff
right.
like that exists.
Yeah.
That, can change whatever, however we are or whatever. So I just feel like it's this made up kind of like thing that society places upon other people, or, society places upon people, be like, oh, you need to look young, you need to look whatever. If you look old, you're discarded by the rest of society.
Which is true.
Which
You
is
are
true.
You are discarded
Which
by
is
society.
true. But then shouldn't the solution then be to change society so it doesn't discard the old people, rather than, hey, there's a thing where we're going to sell it to you where you can look as young as you want so you don't get this discardation, but that's where you have to go for it. Like I feel like we're trying to solve, I feel like we're creating problems to solve.
Well, duh. And also, is that really a problem that we're looking to cure first? Right? There are so many problems that society has, but whether it be, surgery, that's the first thing I'm going to be like, oh, we got to axe that.
It's not like a problem, but it just like, I guess it just encourages, in my opinion, just
narcissism, selfishness.
Yes, narcissism, selfishness of like, oh, since I'm able to afford this thing, I can afford to opt out of this ageism stuff, but I'm not going to actually fix ageism. I'm just going to make myself feel better about myself. It's just like kind of, I don't know. Yes, sure, fine, whatever. But don't complain when people have an opinion that's not congruent with, your opinion about it.
Well, of course. I mean, at the end of the day, the people's opinions don't fucking matter. It's only your opinion that matters for yourself.
Right. So then, like, I guess, like, where I take issue with the whole thing is the framing of he's getting rid of the stigma of improving yourself.
Way to bring it back, because we're going to move on.
We're on to.
We're gonna. Oh yeah. Do you want to share any current events with me before we hit our fact check?
Yeah. I guess like one thing you told me to bring happier news, but I mean this is happy but tinged with some, So basically, everything everywhere all at once. I don't know if you've seen the Oscars or caught up with, but they did win.
Yeah.
I think they won Best Picture, Best
Supporting Actor,
Best Supporting Actor, Best Actress.
Mm-hmm.
And some other things, I think. I don't know exactly. But then, yeah, it won the major ones that was supposed to, or it was tracked to win.
It was supposed to win.
And it's a bad thing that I can't even remember how to say the guy's name. Ki Kwan or whatever.
Oh.
It's pretty bad that I only know him as Short Round. I'm like,
it's only bad if you think it's bad.
I mean, I guess it's just when he said his speech, like, this is the American dream. I was a refugee that, that lived in a refugee camp, and now I'm, on Hollywood's biggest stage. And I'm just like, is it really the American dream to have your home country bombed to shit and have, you have to run away to the country that bombed you to be in their, American film ceremony? Like, yes, I get it. It's a big moment. It's whatever, but let's be clear on what the American dream is.
Okay, let's be real. If it's the American dream, then yeah, that would work. Because guess what? America, they came, pillaged, fucking got away from war.
Sure, that's what I'm saying.
So it is the American dream.
If that is the American dream,
that's the American dream.
Let's define what the American dream is.
Hey, he made it, man.
It's
he
like,
got pillaged, and then he came out of the rubble.
It's like 20 to 30 years from now, we're gonna see like the first Middle Eastern actor be like, I survived drone strikes in the Middle East.
Dude, that's huge.
But I came to America.
And I'm on the big Hollywood stage.
Can you imagine that? It's just like, come on, bro. Are you serious right now?
I think I low-key, if someone did that, or better yet, if a stand-up comedian was like, that was his platform, I think that would be genius. So, perhaps someone needs to do that. Or if someone has already, please put that in the comments below so I can watch. That would be awesome.
But it just like feels so obvious that Hollywood now is just trying to launder America's kind of guilt of its imperialism through minority people. Minorities be like, oh, since this guy succeeded, all of those things in the past, they don't really matter.
I wouldn't even, you are totally blowing out. No, not at all.
No, because so I saw some footage
from
what'd you see? 2004. I think it was 2004, 2005. Michael Moore, I think he won some sort of documentary like thing. So he had a speech. And he basically called out President Bush and said the Iraq war is built on lies, blah, 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 whatever, which it was. And the entire Oscar was just like booing him and like getting up, like, get off the stage, whatever. And it's just like, man, Hollywood was this openly like bloodthirsty, 20 years ago, and now it's trying to pretend like it's this virtuous kind of like.
Is it trying to pretend though?
That's what I'm saying. It launders people's emotions and uses them to kind of like say, oh, we're not that bad. Like, yes, we provided the American dream. We might have bombed those people, but look at what happened. This guy's now on the biggest stage, right?
It wasn't Hollywood that bombed them.
Yeah, but it was Hollywood that, made people kind of buy into the American empire.
Dude, I wouldn't even say that. It's not Hollywood that did that. It's the gold. It's like so much consumerism as well as capitalism that came out of it. That's the American dream. People are looking to live a life, and it's not because of Hollywood's touting it. Yeah, Hollywood is a reflection of what's happening at the time, but it's not saying, hey, by the way, this is what? Why are you looking at me like that?
I mean, I'm waiting to finish what you're saying, I guess. I'm just listening.
Yeah, Hollywood's not saying bomb the people.
Yeah, it's not saying it directly, but like we talked about the Top Gun, right?
Yeah.
Like the 1986, how that increased military recruitment, how the DOD.
Oh, no, we didn't talk about that.
Oh, wait, we did it?
I don't think so.
So you know how like Top Gun 2 did all the numbers, whatever, last year?
All the numbers. Dude, that love story was so weird.
Wait, we didn't talk about the Vietnam War? Like
we
how at the end of the Vietnam War in 1975, the U.S. Army's like reputation was at its all-time low.
Oh no, but we didn't talk about Top Gun.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so you knew that, right? Like the Vietnam War made the U.S. military look like shit, right?
I can believe it.
Yes, because protests, blah blah blah, whatever.
Yeah, Muhammad Ali.
So yeah, and then people, when they came back, people would spit on like the veterans. They'd be like,
that's terrible.
Whatever. But like, yeah, right. So the U.S. Army had a bad reputation. In 1986, Top Gun comes out, and in the story, they purposely kind of like don't talk about the Vietnam War or say like, oh, it's a thing in the past. Like Maverick's dad was in it, but he was that's the U.S. Army. This is the U.S. Navy where we're like,
we're better.
We're
what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
We're Top Gun. So in 1986, it was a smash success. It was just like cool. It was Tom Cruise in a bomber jacket, looking cool
with glasses.
It made the U.S. military look cool again, right?
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, that's the old timers, like but we're the new people. We're flying in planes. We're saving America, and the movie did so well that the U.S. Navy set up recruitment booths right outside.
Genius. Good job.
Okay, fine. Yes, sure.
I mean, smart. They got marketing.
Yeah. So then 500. They increased their recruitment by 500%.
Wow.
And so right after that, the DOD realized, oh shit.
Wait, were they funding the movie at all?
They didn't. But then here's what happened. They said anytime any movie wants to use any of our military equipment in their movie, we have final approval over all of their scripts.
Really?
Yeah. So after 1986, this happened.
Wait, did it become a law? How is that? How
it didn't become a law.
But how can they enforce that?
Because they own the military equipment.
Oh, I mean, people can always make fake military equipment, right?
Yeah, but
it's very expensive. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Just to like do replicas. What are we gonna do with it after we're done?
Like the big budget Hollywood movies. Do you think they're using the fake stuff, or they want to use the real stuff?
We're gonna make a styrofoam plane and just put it on a string and throw it around.
Yeah. So then a lot of films, like Marvel films, for example, they use military equipment. So,
yeah, that's true.
So, all their scripts have to be approved by the Department of Defense.
Wow.
And so they're not going to have anything that says, oh, the U.S. military is bad or
sucks.
Whatever, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, Hollywood is kind of working with the military.
I have to say, some of the Marvel movies makes me poo-poo the American military.
But at the end of the day, it's kind of like, oh, like, when you look at Iron Man, for example.
I was going to say Iron Man.
Right, but Iron Man still says those guys are terrorists. It still says whatever. It kind of was saying...
like, we're bad, but these people are worse.
Exactly. So it's just kind of like the U.S. military will allow that, right? Allow those stories to be like, you know what? We've got a few bad things going on, but really, like, you guys need us. That's the ultimate message of the U.S. military in these kind of movies. And so, yeah, I know you're not wanting to believe that the U.S. military can control Hollywood, but that's somewhat how it can exert its influence.
All right, you ready for me to share some sad news?
Sure. Or sad news.
Yeah, it's sad. So they did a 20-year study in terms of gender wage difference.
Mm-hmm.
There has only been a 2 cents change between men and what women make, like a difference in terms of, like, 20 years ago, women were making 80 cents to a man's dollar, and now it's 82 cents to a man's dollar.
Hey, man, that's so that's 20 years?
That's 20 years.
So then 20 years, so that's 1 cent per 10
Decade.
years.
Yeah.
So then 180 years. So it's less than the 300 years you're
But
talking
the thing
about.
is, 40 years prior, 40 years and then 20, or 40 years and then 20 years prior, like we're looking at 20 years before that,
Yeah.
there was a 16 cents change. So it moved from 64 to 80. But now the change rate is like slowing down.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that probably has to do with, the unavoidable consequence of women having to, they are the child bearers, right?
But also, women aren't put in positions where they're C-suite, right? They're just the admin.
Yeah, that too. But what I'm saying is that, like, that thing is a natural hurdle to career advancement, right? Like, let's say you're out of commission for a year or 2 years.
Yeah.
Then, like, the company's going to be like, well, you didn't do as many projects as, this guy, so we're going to move this guy up.
But the thing is, that's not always the case. Like, women are pulling their weight just as much.
Right. But what I'm saying is that, like,
I get it.
when
The
you're out of
2 years.
commission, that's just like a natural kind of thing for, especially with these
I
higher.
think that's an excuse.
I don't know. I mean, it depends on what you think about, like, in terms of career advancement.
Well, women aren't taking 2 years off. That's ideal. We're not in Europe. That shit ain't happening.
No, I'm aware of that. But, like, it does take time and effort to raise a kid, no matter, even if you are spending money on, health, child care services and stuff like that. And that stuff also is expensive, right? So that.
Did you see that Hormel is it Ohio? They're investing in a $5 million daycare on site so their employees can come back to work. And it's only for 300 children. But they're investing in
Wait,
a $5 million daycare. Hormel. The
What's
people that
Hormel?
make Spam.
Wait, $5 million for 300 kids? That actually doesn't sound like that much.
Dude, totally. But they're just trying to create a place that, of course, parents that work for the company or even parents who decide to, like, pay Hormel to take their kids to somewhere.
Yeah. So exactly. So if, let's say you're a woman, right? Let's say you're a woman.
Yeah. Let's say I'm a woman.
Let's say you're a woman.
And then what happens?
And then you're on this track with a man, right? But you want kids as well, right? So
why is it only affecting women? Like, it also affects a man.
I mean, it depends
I
on
agree,
how
though. Your brain doesn't change the same.
There's
What are you going to say?
This goes into the idea of, like, okay, so how does a family unit start? Like, is it the...
You're about to get some fucking women haters on this.
I mean, I'm just, like, saying, like...
Watch what you say.
It depends on, like, a lot of things. Like, especially in which the American economy or I guess society is structured, right? We are structured around this nuclear family unit, right? That's how it's been for the past 200, 300 years.
Yeah, but the thing is, women aren't all having children. Like, people are choosing not to have children. There are a lot of
no, I understand that, but I'm just saying, on the top line of, like, the income distribution stuff, like the income numbers you're talking about, those numbers are heavily skewed by these high paying jobs, right? The paying jobs that require, like, consistent, like, time at the top.
No,
in terms of career advancement. For example,
the
like,
people who are doing this research, again, they're not going for the C-suite always. They're looking at companies in general because there aren't that many C-suiters, right?
Right. But what I'm talking about is that, like, when you're saying the average woman and the average man, like the 82 cents in the dollar figure, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're basically saying you're taking all the incomes of all the men, right? You're averaging that out, and you're averaging the average income of all the women, correct?
Mm-hmm. And that also
Right.
has to
Hold
think
on.
about, sorry, I was like, demographic kind of.
Right. So then let's say this pool is the men part. There's a large percentage of the men part that are in these C-suite kind of, I don't know, what is C-suite exactly?
Like CEOs.
Yeah, exactly.
CFOs.
There's a lot of money. Like a lot of this is in the C-suite thing. And a lot of that is in the C-suite in the women's section too, right? So if this is making the bulk of the money that is determined to, compare averages, then it, behooves us to look at these C-suite occupations as the main driver in terms of this income in inequality distribution.
I would disagree, because not only, if anything, there's a skew because one doesn't account for the disparity in which African American women and Hispanic women,
we're setting that aside for now because we have to look at.
Well, I'll grab you the data to show you, because it's not just C-suite.
I need more specific.
We're not doing just the C-suite.
I need specific numbers.
I'm not even sure if C-suite are even considered in this ratio, because we're looking at the masses.
That's what I need to. In order to make more of a comment, I need to look at these numbers a little bit more carefully.
Understood. All right. So, fact check.
Oh wait,
What? Do you want to add something else
for
current events? What? Share. But we must move quickly.
Okay, fine. Let's just.
No. Tell me, what is it? Is it happy news still?
I mean, it's just like the SVB bank. Hear about that?
Yeah.
The Silicon Valley thing.
It's unavoidable, unfortunately.
I don't know. This week it kind of like made me think, man, like.
Come on, keep going.
What? I'm just like saying like this could be the tip of the
depression iceberg.
Exactly. So you know how I'm talking about. We're on a Titanic.
We're talking about.
I'm on a Titanic now, and
I was gonna say, when is the recession happening?
I'm like, this could be not the iceberg, not the big one that like, but it's just kind of like what
kind of fucking sound effect was that, dude? Like, did you break your hip or back?
The big iceberg, like the we're dead.
Why is that water flooding into the basin of the ship? Like, how is that? That's like, what is that? The Kool-Aid Man? Wait, no, it's not the Kool-Aid Man. Oh, no, the Brisk Man.
Oh, yeah.
No, the Brisk Man. You know what I'm talking about. I love brisk iced tea.
Yes, the brisk iceberg that hits the Titanic. But no. So this isn't that, but it's like kind of like that was interesting.
Oh, shit.
Like, but it's almost kind of like the thing that everyone's like, oh, it's fine. Like, the Fed can take up the depositors.
That's what they're saying.
Nothing's going to happen.
That's
right?
what they're saying.
But the fact remains, like, the reason why there was a run on the bank was because they wrote down a loss on some, like, I guess some investments they had that were no longer, people were pulling out because, like, the interest rates are rising. And so those investments now are pretty garbage because, like, you can get better investments on the open market now because there's higher interest rates. So they had to write down a huge loss on like that because they had a large book of those kind of assets. And so that's when people started taking their money out because they're like, oh shit, like this has this many assets, we got to get our money out. So that caused the bank to go bankrupt.
Washington Mutual.
Right. And so, I guess like for now they were able to stave off any contagion or whatever because like they were like, oh, it's fine. The Fed is going to take care of the depositors' money and things are going to be fine. But some people were saying like over the past weekend, while this was all happening, like if SVB, like this relatively small bank has, this much trouble, how much of these bad loans or bad investments are around all the other banks?
The little ones? Or
like
big
the big ones?
Or all of them?
All of them, right?
Wait, who are these people that are saying these speculations?
There's just like people in the general finance kind of world.
Like on Twitter?
Yeah, on Twitter.
Okay, got it. I was like, where are you getting your news from?
I mean, I don't trust the mainstream news anymore. So
I don't think you trust anyone.
I get like my news all from disparate people and track
with a range of opinions.
Yeah.
Or people who just think like.
Well, I don't have like people with opinions. Sometimes I'll just get people who just. There are accounts that just like say straight up facts, like this is what happened, this is what happened, like without any. Yeah. So that's how I kind of like parse through some of my stuff on Twitter. But yeah, any sort of like editorialization, I'll kind of just ignore. Just try to like come up with my own reasons why they're saying that
What are your thoughts on the Facebook layoffs? Because he's trying to
Oh, is there
level
more
up.
recently?
Yeah.
Oh,
this
what
week.
happened?
So it's just trying to become more efficient, making it rather than having layers, trying to level out, be flat essentially in terms of a company. So I don't want to say 10,000 or 11,000, but it was a good chunk of people.
I haven't been
But it was only
following
like
Facebook
3%
too
of the
much
people.
recently, but yeah, I think the entire tech industry, there's been a lot of fat they need to kind of trim, in my opinion.
Yeah.
There were people on TikTok in the past couple of years just showing like, oh, like look at my Facebook job, and they were like, it's clearly obvious they're not really doing anything of value. So I think there's definitely going to be a lot of that more coming in the next year or so. I feel like. I don't know. I'm hoping we avoid the big crash or anything that happens, but like this past weekend got me kind of worried about things.
So what are you doing? Stuffing money into your mattress?
Well, I did break my I'm not gonna smoke
Oh yeah.
marijuana thing.
Oh yeah. He broke.
So yeah, yesterday I was just kind of like, you know what, I'm just gonna
Did you
forget
run?
about it. This past week,
Yeah.
just once.
Just once? Oh
Yeah,
yes.
the
'Cause-
marathon is this Sunday.
Wait,
But-
what? Okay. You're prepping for LSAT, but rather than running to prep for your
Yeah.
yeah, okay, got it.
Well, I'm doing both.
I know, but like, what's more imminent, aka the marathon? Wait, is it the LA marathon?
Yeah, it's the LA Marathon.
Are you gonna carb up? Are you gonna eat a bunch of pasta the night before?
I don't know. I might just like walk it.
You know what? I support that.
It's funny because like 12 years ago, I was like, I was a lot younger. It was a lot like
Generally, what happens?
right, and now I'm just kind of like, oh man, I don't know if I want to run the whole thing.
There's no shame in walking.
I mean, I think I'm glad that I started to train for it regardless because now, even after the half marathon, I do want to train more and more to get to that point. But I just think I am not. It is a lot harder to get into shape when you are older. Like.
Oh yeah, older, not holder. I was like,
Older.
what?
Older.
What are you gonna be listening to
What do you mean listening to?
when you're running?
Oh, I don't listen to anything. I just run.
Oh, okay.
Wait, why? What?
Just curious.
It's just kind of like I feel like it's kind of like a meditative moment for me.
Oh, I can imagine that, but like, you got 26 miles to go, homie. Like, you can meditate for maybe 2 miles, 5 miles.
Oh,
But-
you mean for the actual race?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't thought of that.
Okay. Great preparation.
Yeah, I don't know. I never really run, even when I was running with any music or.
You can
anything.
listen to LSAT shit, yo.
Yeah, no, that's not really a thing.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe. It could be a thing. There could be podcasts or like, oh, here's some tips and tricks to help you get through the LSAT.
Yeah, I mean, no, LSAT stuff is a little bit more complicated. But yeah,
It could just be reading a book to you, although you might fall asleep.
yeah.
So
Anyway,
sorry. moving
whatever.
on. Okay.
That's what's going on.
You ready to
Yeah.
give me a fact check?
Fact check. So last time we talked about McDonald's.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, I
discussion.
do. Of course I do. Oh, I'm so excited for you to share.
So I was saying last time that McDonald's is more like a real estate
Mhm.
company than so yeah, apparently it kind of was in 1956 when this guy named Sonneborn,
What's his name?
I think that's his last name, but he was this guy that was an executive that worked with McDonald's, and he was basically like, the way we expand is we'll own the properties that McDonald's expands to, and then we'll let franchisers rent from us and pay us also on top of their profits.
True. It costs $1 million to franchise McDonald's.
Yeah. So then that's how they expanded from then on. And so as a result, their kind of like real estate holdings are around $40 billion. So that
Impressive.
constitutes a lot of their kind of like operations. And so from the actual revenue numbers, they actually make $13 billion in revenue from the franchises. So 93% of all the McDonald's locations are franchised. 7% they own.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So they own 7%. They make $9.7 billion off of that in revenue, but they only make $1.7 billion in profit. right? Because they have to, run the McDonald's, right? But on the $13 billion they collect from the franchises, they keep $10.7 billion in profit because a lot of that is just rent money.
Yep.
It's just franchising fees and all that stuff.
How many people are on their board?
I'm not sure about that. Probably just the normal amount.
I wonder if McDonald's is recession proof.
So it's funny you say that. So in 2008,
I think
how
yes.
a lot of market crash, exactly.
Yep.
They were actually buying up a lot of cheap property during that time because like stuff went all the way down. So we're going to grab this. We're going to grab because this is going to be a new McDonald's market. And the way they're able to do that is because McDonald's is such a big brand that people automatically buy their stuff. So they're able to make this deal of like any new franchise, for example. I think it's like you have to pay a $45K fee, and then the rent you have to pay is either $313K every 3 months, or 31.7% of the sales that you make on that McDonald's. And then so like they're collecting a lot of money from these franchisors, even though they're not really running it themselves. Yeah. And these franchisors, they're only making like basically maybe like 150K profit per year of profit from these places.
Wait, how much?
150K per year.
That's it?
Yeah. So each
one.
Wait,
that's the McDonald's people, not the actual owners.
The franchisors, yeah. So
really?
let's say you want to franchise McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
You pay X amount of that, like this $45K fee and this like $1 million month, $1.2 million rent, right? Like for.
Wait, how much rent?
1.2 million. So it's 313K per 3 months. So that comes out to 1.2 million dollars in rent. So you're paying all that money and you're getting 150K.
Oh man, that sucks.
Of profit, right? I mean, you're getting that money back because like, the revenue, but essentially after all said and done, you get 150K, which is kind of small for the amount of money you're putting in. But it's kind of like people accept that proposition because it's almost guaranteed.
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
McDonald's will sell product.
Yep.
And so that's kind of like how they've been managing their kind of company over the past 40, 50, 70 years or so.
1 million years.
Yeah. So then
cockroaches.
I don't know if you've seen also that the other thing that I want to talk about was that they are kind of like scaling back a lot of their playhouses, whatever, because like they are at the point of saturation where everyone knows what McDonald's is.
And they want to automate everything.
Yeah, exactly. And you're seeing people at the cashiers being like, even the kiosks, they're kiosks where you just order your own thing, and they're moving to phone orders so you can pick up your thing after your order. So they are scaling back in terms of people that they need to run these things.
So what I've been hearing, and it might just be in like the human resources community, but how companies are society is kind of putting this on companies where they need to actually change to provide, oh God, I was literally listening to and thinking about today, where it has to provide some, not social good, but has to, I can't even verbalize what I'm trying to say.
Wait, companies have to do something?
Companies have to change to actually like give back. And it's now the standard. Like you can't just be a fucking manufacturer. You have to either, like, you know how McDonald's has their Make-A-Wish Foundation?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, but more. Like now they have to.
So it's like a government is mandating that.
A government is not. It's the social society is like, no, you need to have.
Who is the social society though?
The people. Like where there's got to be some good that you're giving back.
But who's enforcing these things onto companies?
It's the climate, right? The climate changes the culture. It's the lever that helps to move the culture to change. So right now, we're in a place where the climate's like, you need to take care of your people. You need to take care of the world, the earth,
sure,
climate, whatever. And that's where currently that's what they're saying is happening. That's again the world that I dabble in.
Yeah, I guess I'm just like wondering, like, what if the company's like,
no, we don't want to.
Yeah, no, we don't want to. What's to stop them, right?
Which, to talk about McDonald's though, I want to bring up that there's a Walmart in Maryland or somewhere in the Northeast.
Okay.
That's actually changing how they serve the clients because they want to bring in not only more people, but people who make more money. So I'm wondering also if McDonald's will follow suit, or if they're just going to be like, nope, we're automating and we're done.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I'm thinking like if I'm McDonald's, right? I'm like, people are gonna buy McDonald's no matter what kind of social thing I'm putting out. Like McDonald's is such a good, like, well-known product that, I think for newer companies that are starting out and trying to create brand recognition or whatever, it behooves them, of course, to do all those things. But for something that's like as big as McDonald's, yes, they might like put some initiatives in that direction just to save face and just to say that they did something. But I don't think that it's really a primary concern because they've been around the block, and it's just kind of like, well, I don't think the average, like person on the street, it has to do with their clientele, right? Because their clientele is like, I just want a Big Mac. I don't care. I don't care about these social issues at all.
Yo, so remember when Super Size Me came out?
That was a while ago, right?
Yeah, so long ago. They had to change their tune, which pisses me off because they stopped selling humongous size fries, and I love humongous size fries. But like that movie, what the impact of it did, it forced...
Right, but that was a movie based on its product.
Exactly.
So they had to change because their product was now looking bad. But
exactly.
then like, and see, you said yourself, you were more pissed off that they don't have the
That was
thing.
me. That's an individual thing that does not apply to the greater good, social good.
Right, but the average person doesn't really care about the social good of a product. They care about the product. Like, well, yes, there is a care there, I guess. But what I'm saying is that that's not their primary concern. Their primary concern is, do I want this product?
Yeah, like, what can I get for the biggest bang for the lowest
Yeah,
buck,
exactly.
Right?
I mean, yes, if they're rich enough to now care about these other things, oh, I'm going to take my business elsewhere. I'm going to take my business to Burger King, say, like, if they don't, whatever.
Okay, don't use Burger King that's not an actual example. Let's use like In-N-Out, okay?
Sure, fine. Let's say In-N-Out,
Sorry, I'm mad at Burger King. They changed everything. Their everything tastes terrible.
See, but that's funny you say that. Like, if Burger King said, we're not going to do anything about some sort of social thing anymore,
people would continue to not eat there.
Or yes, people would either continue to not eat there like you, or people, right? Let's say they said, hey Andrea, look at how much we're doing for women's programs, whatever.
Okay, I'd be more incentivized.
Oh, would you?
Yeah, I would.
Wait, what was your main beef with them right now?
Their shit's disgusting.
What if they're like, we will make it even more disgusting, but we are now helping women?
Oh man, if you're helping a social cause, it's like why you buy certain clothing. It's because, like, Girlfriend Collective, right? They make clothes out of plastic bottles.
Right, but
did you know that?
No, I did not. I just feel like this. It's all kind of like it's just virtue signaling for profit.
Dude, okay, so when you go to France or even Japan, the McDonald's there are so, I don't say quality, but they're so much better.
Yeah.
So I wonder what's gonna be the thing that changes McDonald's in America.
Well, the thing is that in France and Japan, for example, they both have
a lot of laws.
Not a lot of laws, but they have a lot of better substitutes. Like in Japan, there's cheap and healthy food that tastes really good.
Yeah.
And same thing in France.
Machines. Well, not
they
vending
have
machines
cheap
there.
food that might not be so healthy, but it's really good in France too. In France in general, like,
well, aren't their ingredients better?
I'm not sure if their ingredients better overall, but it's a very much more competitive market in terms of culinary stuff in France and Japan. But when you go to America, right? Like if McDonald's is like the king of the hill, right? And so it's almost like illustrating what a monopoly kind of does. Like if you've got the entire market cornered, you don't have to concentrate on the quality of your product because everyone's just going to accept it as the standard. Like you either take it or leave it, right? Like because McDonald's and fast food is such an established brand in America, it's hard to like get out of that habituation, or like it's hard to like popularize kind of other substitutes because now they have this behemoth of a brand that could steamroll anyone. So the reason why it's better in France and Japan is not because of any social kind of thing that they did. It's just basically basic economics. It's basically like they have better stuff available for people to, go to.
Segue. Why aren't the 7-Elevens here better? I mean, they're good in Japan. They're good in Hawaii. But
Exactly.
should you go around the corner to my local 7-Eleven, it is not so good.
That's another function of
America?
the substitutes. Yeah, exactly. Like in Japan, if a 7-Eleven wanted to compete with other kind of Japanese establishments, they need to have like better quality stuff, right? They need to like be able to compete with the stuff that's going on in Japan. So the fact that American establishments are doing well or not doing well, they're higher quality abroad speaks to kind of like the competitive market that exists within that area.
Wait. So you're saying that Japanese McDonald's and 7-Elevens are better than American?
I would say a lot of American establishments are better in general in Asia.
Or anywhere outside of America.
Culinary stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
even Costco's better outside.
I've had, when I went to Singapore, I had Shake Shack there.
Why? There's so much food in Singapore.
Singapore is actually very commercial looking. It's kind of like
But they got their hawker centers.
I was kind of like in the Times Square area of
would
Singapore.
be.
So it was very Americanized. But I went to this Shake Shack, right? And I kid you not, it was like the best Shake Shack I've ever had in my life. It was like the ingredients, you could just tell that like, I don't know, it just like sourced these ingredients from like the Garden of Eden or something.
Or they actually use fat when they're cooking the burgers.
Maybe. But it's just kind of like, oh, it's precisely what you were talking about. You were like, you went to Singapore, you had this food. Exactly, right? The food in general in Southeast Asia and Asia, it's really, really good, right? If you know where the good spots are.
Or even if even if you went to the bad spots, I think you'd still get good food.
Right. Exactly. Exactly more my point, right? Like you can go to anywhere in like Southeast Asia and get pretty good food for pretty cheap. So that's what American companies have to compete with. So if they want you to go to their establishment, they can't be selling you like KFC from like,
the trash can.
They gotta like
Dumpster
they gotta make that
chickens.
KFC like really good.
Yeah.
They gotta make the like this like awesome KFC, awesome McDonald's, awesome 7-Elevens to keep people coming.
Did you see that Vietnam is selling electric cars in America?
Like they have a car company or they?
Yeah.
Oh, what's the car company called?
I have to send you a link on that or tell you later. But I was like, yo, what's up, Vietnam?
Vietnam's moving up in society.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other fact check, check it incompletely. It is somewhat of a conspiracy what I said. But I will go over the facts. We were talking about the Nazi gold.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
So there was a lot of Nazi gold that was financing the Nazis during during World War II. I think it started in 1937 when they started to kind of like take gold from not only Jewish people or other people that they had on the captive. They also took money from central banks that they were able to control, like Austria and other places, and they would ship some of that Nazi gold to kind of banks like Swiss banks and stuff like that for safekeeping. But they would also have
gold on hand
in
case they need to just buy a nuclear weapon.
Well, they're trying to. I think they were trying to develop nuclear weapons. Not as concentrated as the United States was, but there was a project. But that was kind of separate from the Nazi gold. The Nazi gold was really just to finance the war effort. But yeah, in April 1945, when the Americans kind of were running over Berlin, or when the Soviets and the Americans were basically running over Berlin, the U.S. Army found this large mine called Merker's Salt Mine that had lots of Nazi gold in it.
Cool.
And then General Patton at the time said something like, "Oh, maybe we should use this gold to finance our military."
Genius.
It's like so it got, the word of the discovery. So he actually tried to stop the press from talking about the Nazi gold or whatever. But then say foolish. Well, I mean, you just said he was smart though, but now he's foolish for trying to stop the press from.
Yeah, because it's like it's inevitable.
Yeah. So then the press found out about it. So this Nazi gold was accounted for, or whatever. But there's a lot of like Nazi gold that is not accounted for afterwards.
Isn't it in the ocean?
So some of there's stories of some Nazi gold being hidden in the ocean,
Pirate ships.
or in the Swiss banks that was later kind of talked about in the 90s. And but there seemed to be, after this big discovery, there seemed to be a lot of gold that was missing, and nobody
What's
knew.
a lot of gold?
It's hard to say, because it's hard to say how much the Nazis actually accrued. But they were saying basically that the amount that Hitler would have needed to steal, right?
That's amazing. The fact that that's so much gold and he stole that all. That's amazing.
Yeah, and the U.S. military became a lot more expansive after World War II. They spent a lot of money on their new naval bases, new navy. So yeah, there's no direct proof, but there are these facts basically that there was Nazi gold that's stolen from a lot of people. A lot of it went missing. General Patton said something like, "We should use this gold for a military."
I'm not going to read into it. You've already told me the facts. Moving on.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, a lot of.
Moving on. All right, you ready?
Sure.
Time to get depressed.
Even more depressed about.
We got to go into it. I remembered after you talked about comfort women, I was like, oh, wait, I knew this stuff. Why?
Yeah.
Because I got this from my American history classes.
I'm surprised. Wait, so in American history, how much did they talk about Japan? And
They talked a lot.
yeah, what did they say exactly?
Well, I think I learned it really from world history.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
You-
like a world history class.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I was in the advanced placement.
So yeah, give me the broad strokes of what you know about the Japanese Empire.
The sun. Just kidding. They are the ultimate colonizers. They happen to be small and get their ass like handed to them too many times. But I don't want to say make Genghis Khan look bad, because Genghis Khan took over like everything, but they're like second.
Yeah.
But
okay.
and way more brutal. They're just like, I think at the point of it being sociopathic in terms of like the type of destruction they incurred.
Right.
They're just like, yeah, we're gonna do this. So we're gonna slice open your head and just let your brain hang out. It's like, why? Why? Just kill him. Nope, we're gonna do this. We're gonna.
Now you know where the fucked up animes come from.
I know. I'm like, God, you guys are creative because you guys go dark. It's like, damn.
All right, so a little bit of background.
Oh, so we're talking about Japanese fascism, by the way, today.
So I got a comment from last video saying that I didn't get, fascism quite right. It's a
Ooh,
syndicalism.
someone's checking you. Oh, I like that. Y'all
I mean,
check
yes,
him.
like
Go and check me too.
when we're talking about the Mussolini definition, the Italian fascism, yes, some of its roots may have came from theory at the time that might have been Marxist and whatnot. But the ultimate kind of like, I think people would agree upon what fascism is kind of like a return to traditionalism, is kind of a use of military to kind of, secure territory and secure resources, and to kind of like quell any sort of dissent that might hinder a government from its plans, right? Like the government doesn't want people that are complaining about it and you're dead, that kind of thing, right? Fascism, right? So I think with that definition, if we're going based on the definition of like the fascism and the Nazi
Wait, is this
style,
the definition that our watchers will approve of?
I think so. I think
Okay.
like most
If
people
not,
would be on
let
board.
him know.
Yeah, because I think that the key or the difficulty is that there is no sort of like, fascism. This equals fascism, right? It's just kind of like, oh, the Nazis were fascists, so anything that has to do with the Nazis
Is fascism.
right. And like while there is kind of like that's how we understand fascism, I feel like it does kind of have similarities to the Japanese as well, and that's kind of like what I'm going to discuss. So basically what happened is that during the 1800s,
So that's the start.
yeah,
Okay.
during the 1800s, Europe was kind of like done conquering all of the world, right? Except for Asia. They had actually conquered pretty much India at the time. They were split it between England and France mostly. And what?
I didn't know France had a bit of India.
Yeah, but then France kind of lost a war to England, and then they had to give up their
Their
share. Of
Yeah,
India.
okay, that's what I thought. I was
So
like,
then England like basically controlled
Yeah.
most of India. But then like the final, frontier, I guess, sort of colonization was China and East Asia. So actually like Korea, Japan was actually part of that because Korea generally wasn't colonized at all because it was like secluded in this kind of like little area next to China, and Japan kind of like the same thing. It's like an island on the east side of China, right? So they're kind of like kind of almost like China was this buffer zone
protecting them.
Yeah, because like the European powers at the time didn't quite have the technology or whatever
The travel.
to take over China, because that's when they used it to take over the Americas, the Africa. They were gaining territory and like gaining power, but by the 1800s, now they have the machinery. Now they have the industrial, after the Industrial Revolution, now they can take over, right? So then during the 1800s, there's more of this pressure towards China. There was the Opium Wars. I don't know if you know the Opium Wars in 1836, 1850. Anyway, so Europe. What is that? Why are you looking at me?
Please continue.
Okay, so you know how like Indochina, let's bring it back to Indochina, right? You know how they were first kind of like colonized by the French, right? That started like their relations with the French started right around like 1700s and 1800s, like kind of like around the 1700s, and then full colonization by the 1800s. And so like Europe was kind of like moving towards Asia. A lot of Southeast Asia was like Indonesia, all those places. They were split up by all these European powers. So the last three kind of left were Korea, Japan, and China, right? And so when they were trying to get China, they want their goods. They want their stuff. They want their, stuff like tea, silk, all this other stuff. That's what
all this other stuff.
That's what they wanted from China, right?
Uh-huh.
But China didn't really want anything from Europe. They were like, we're good.
Yeah, and then the opium.
And so the opium, blah, 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 right? So then by 1956 or so, or the 1850s, sorry, by the 1850s, some of those people started now going to Japan, being like, hey, you guys got to open up because like we took care of business in China and blah, blah, blah. And they started going to Korea as well. And Japan was like, oh shit, these guys are advanced. These guys can take over if they want. So we gotta like catch up.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, it was this basically this Tokugawa shogunate. I think that was the organizing structure of the government at the time, which was like a feudal kind of shogun society for the past few centuries, right?
Hundreds of years.
And basically, there's this people that came up that I think the emperor named Meiji, whatever. But basically, the Japanese government were like, we need to catch up. We need to like change a lot of things really quickly. We need to learn from their technology. We need to change all this samurai culture stuff.
Yeah,
totally westernized, right? So they actually took a lot of stuff from Germany, right? Because Germany had a long history of like Prussia, like it was called Prussia back then, but it was a long like conservative kind of Western thing that they thought, oh, this would fits into our kind of culture the most. So we're going to use this style of kind of organization to industrialize. And so Japan is kind of like, it's an island, right? It doesn't really have that many natural resources of its own.
And it gets tsunamis.
Right. So,
sorry.
So it needed to kind of like expand. So in the 1870s, it first started to expand to Taiwan.
It did?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. Try to get there.
So it grabbed kind of like territory. This is what, China's weakened right at this time, right?
Yeah, opium.
The opium, like in the 1830s, 1850s, they're fighting off these European colonizers, right? So that are carving it up. So Japan during this time is like, oh, let's take over this place because, like why not?
We need more land.
Yeah, we need more stuff, whatever. So they take over Taiwan in the 1870s, and later on they're just kind of like as they're industrializing, they just need more and more territory. So in the 1870s or 1880s or later on the 1800s, they start like fighting with I think China in like the Manchuria area. They start taking like territory in the Manchuria area, and they start a war with China in the late 1800s called the First Sino-Japanese War, where they're basically fighting over the kind of like right to rule over Korea. So during this time, Korea kind of had like a tributary relationship with China. And so Japan wanted,
Crazy.
because Korea's got a lot of good natural resources, and it's like a good seaport as well to the rest of the Southeast Asia. So Japan really wanted that area for itself. So basically, it fought the Chinese to kind of like install their own kind of puppet government in Korea that would be pro-Japanese. And then afterwards, they also fought the Russians to kind of like have they wanted to annex Korea outright. Well, what are you looking at me like?
Sorry, it's just I was like, didn't Japan come down earlier before all this and fuck up China and Korea?
So they fucked up Korea first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even before this period.
They try to fuck up Korea.
Sorry.
In the 1700s, there was an Imjin War. I'm not 100% about the details about that, but Korea and Japan, they've had a lot of conflicts in the past.
Well, it's not just them. It's also, didn't Japan go down to Korea or China and just be like, we're gonna fuck with you too? And then I think it was like it got halfway and it's like we can't do anymore, and they were forced back.
But
I guess we're just talking about fascism, so
yeah, I couldn't tell you
not just
that.
the
Well,
brutality
I'm
of Japan.
I'm talking about like more like the Japanese mentality of like it really was kind of like almost like a kill or be killed. They like saw that the Europeans were coming for whatever, and they were like, oh, we need to grab territory of our own so we can like not be grabbed ourselves. And so like I think in that sense there is a case for defending that kind of mentality of like, oh, we need to protect ourselves.
That's a fear-based move, though.
Right. But then the way they treated Koreans, the way they treated, Philippines, the way they treated everyone in
else.
Asia
Yes.
was pretty shitty.
Yeah.
Like in order to like, they should have been working together with China and Korea, in my opinion, to be like, yo, let's get these Westerners out. Let's start our own stuff. But they, I think once the empire, grabbed Taiwan, grabbed Manchuria, grabbed Korea, I feel like people were like, oh, living standards are improving in Japan. Like this is amazing. This is great. Let's keep this going. Because by the 1920s, right? The 1920s was when Japan was kind of cooking. It was like, oh, now we're at a.
What the heck do you mean by cooking?
They're like cooking.
Yeah. What? No.
They're on like the same level as all of these Western powers.
Okay. Thank you. Is that what cooking means?
Yeah.
Okay.
But in order to do that, they had to industrialize, right?
Yeah.
So they're producing a lot of like goods that are industrial made goods.
What are they producing? Cars?
Cars.
'Cause they produce some damn good cars.
Yeah. Yeah. Big corporations that you recognize came up during this time in Japan. But because of that, they needed raw materials, and Japan doesn't, like I said before, they don't have raw materials. So they're like, we need to grab more area. Like we already have Korea, we already have Taiwan. I think that's when they started grabbing Manchuria, and Manchuria, that's part of China now.
Yeah.
They were like
candidate, I know.
trying to like look for. I think they even like started to grab stuff in Siberia as well after World War I. And so
you trying to fuck with Russia?
Yeah. So they're just kind of like, we need to
balls to the wall.
We need to grab more and more area. And then finally, in 1937, they decided to invade China. That's when the rape of Nanjing happened. That's when they basically were like, we're taking over, guys. Asia is ours.
So that's the fascist.
Yeah. And at that time, that's when Hitler decided, because he was deciding, do I ally with China
or do I ally with Japan?
So when Japan kind of like struck and showed that they were like,
They got their freak flag flying.
Yeah.
Adolf was like, "That's my bet. That's
yeah, basically he was like, let's go with the winner, right?
Yeah.
These guys seem like they're going to take over Asia, so we'll team up with these guys.
Wahaha, little did they know. They did not.
But yeah, so I mean, so a lot of it had to do with kind of like the way they were able to convince the people of Japan that this was good was like their material conditions over this time rapidly improved, right? You got rid of this feudal system, and the economy of Japan just like blew up, right?
Mhm.
Everyone was making a lot more money. Like this was only like, 1868 was a major restoration, and within like, less than 50 or 60 years, it's like turned into like Western style kind of like, I guess, utopia or whatever.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
what kind of government do they have now?
I mean, they have a democratic government, I guess, a Western style democratic government, but I would say it's heavily influenced by the United States military.
Okay, got it. Just because I'm like, dude, number one, they have the longest lifespans. They have healthy diets.
Yeah.
I don't know their ratio of heart attacks, but one might say that
They do have, their diets are heavily influenced by fish, right? Because
they're right there.
yeah, that's a lot of their diet, right?
No, they also do fermented foods. And then they also portion control. They also have variety.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't like us where Americans were like, we're going to eat a big bowl of pasta and a little side of broccoli. But our pasta doesn't have chicken.
Is that how Americans talk? But yeah, I guess the other thing is like you were mentioning like the Japanese war crime, like they sliced.
God.
What
Yeah.
other stuff do you know about the Japan and stuff like that?
They're having sex with all the women.
Yeah, or it was interesting. I was doing
And killing
some
the men,
research about how they did Vietnam.
How they did Vietnam.
How they did Vietnam.
How'd they do Vietnam?
So there was one thing that was kind of fucked up.
Thank you for sharing.
So you know how like Japanese war machine, they need food and supplies for their army or whatever. They actually stole millions of grain from Vietnam or whatever, like lots of grain from Vietnam.
I mean, they make a lot of rice there, so yeah, I can understand it.
And they stole all that for their army.
How'd they steal it?
They just took it basically.
Oh yeah, 'cause that's stealing.
Yeah.
That's stealing.
They're just like, this is ours now.
That's the definition of
And-
theft. Yeah.
And I think 1 to 2 million Vietnamese people died of starvation because of that. They
I wonder
also
how many Vietnamese people died during COVID.
probably not too many, I would say.
Oh no, we have to look that up. But also, would
Yeah.
they give out those actual numbers?
I don't know.
Me neither.
You would you ask your brother-in-law or
Again, I don't know if those numbers are being recorded.
anyway. There was also this thing called the 3 alls policy with Vietnam. So Vietnam was not, bending the knee. So apparently the Japanese would pillage, burn, and rape Vietnamese women at will because of that, in an attempt to decrease their morale. But yeah, there were a lot of war crimes that people don't even know about.
Again, it's not documented, so there's no hard facts.
on what?
Just keep going.
Okay, the Unit 731, you know about that.
Huh?
Unit 731?
No.
So Unit 731 was a kind of it's experimental biolab that they would do live vivisections on
Wait,
humans.
what?
So vivisection is like they cut people open
And do what?
to just observe
Okay, interesting.
without anesthetics.
That's difficult.
Yeah, so they would do this on Chinese, Korean, Russian prisoners of war.
Okay.
They would do stuff like they want to see how skin reacts if you put it in frostbite, and like how so they would use subjects, for example.
Did they record this information?
Yeah, so they would do this to like try to
this is for
devise
education.
biological warfare stuff.
Okay, got it.
Like they would do all this crazy stuff. Like they would experiment on a guy's limbs, and every limb would be cut off after it was frozen, whatever.
That's terrible.
And then they would expose that torso, the remaining torso, to other kinds of like.
But would a person? How could a person can exist from that? They would have too much blood loss.
I guess they would cauterize it and whatever, and but use the remaining torso for additional experiments with biological agents. That's what I'm saying. This is how messed up it was.
I don't even know if a person could stay alive like that.
Well, I mean, you've heard of amputated people. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. That's what they did. They would just amputate whatever, but like why waste
we're
waste
done.
the rest of the body?
Let's move
It's
on.
like-
Wait, is that really what you wanted to talk about?
I don't know. We're talking about the Japanese kind of like the messed up stuff that they did.
Yeah, no, that's okay. We're good with that. I'm
All
good with
right.
that. Ooh, I mean, at least they helped education. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
Do they have good health care there?
well, the thing is, the United States,
Does that too?
no worse.
Oh, God.
They let most of those people go in exchange for the data. And they hired some of those people into their, biological labs themselves, one of which later produced Agent Orange.
I'm sorry, but would you rather the American government go through those experiments themselves to collect that data?
No, I would rather the American government punish those who are responsible for that kind of stuff.
You idealistic person. I'm just kidding.
And not create Agent Orange in labs.
I know. Let's be real. That affected a lot of Vietnamese people.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so that's...
Thanks for sharing that. It was good to just, dig a deeper hole in terms of knowledge. Happier to know, I suppose.
Yeah, so this is the kind of stuff that I think America is trying to... We talked about that last week, about how they're trying to make them play nice with each other, like South Korea and Japan with the over-the-comfort women's situation. So this is like the stuff
Yeah. We're all good now, right?
Right.
No.
This is stuff that all of Asia has beef with against Japan. But like America's trying to like force this marriage
Don't do
of
that.
like, force this marriage.
Don't do that.
Exactly. Don't do that,
Don't do
right,
that.
America? Don't do that. To give a sense that there's a unified front against China. They are.
What a way to take that. Wow. Like, tie that up nicely. Take
Yeah.
a bow.
Yeah. The bow. I feel like everything that has to do with Asia these days is basically how do we convince the American public that China is the enemy?
Okay. It's interesting you say that because even today I was in a webinar and we're talking about DEI
Mhm.
and the person who's doing the presentation, they are using pictures from the protests during the pandemic.
Mhm.
And it was interesting because some of the people in the chat room were all just like, why are you only using black people and Asian people? It's just like, it just happened to be like on point about like what was happening, especially what's been going on. It's not of like, because we're talking about diversity, equity, inclusion,
Yeah.
we're gonna have these people. Like, it's some people. It's interesting how they can feel alienated because not all races, aka their race, isn't included because it's not like it's everyone's fight, but it's not. They're not
So
the
what
ones
was
being
what
targeted.
was the main topic? The main topic was the pandemic.
No, it's about diversity, equity, inclusion.
Oh, but they were complaining that there were black and Asian people? I
No,
don't
they're
understand.
complaining that there's only because this conversation is diversity, equity, inclusion.
Right.
Because the opening pictures happen to be protests in regards to
George
African
Floyd
American.
and
Yeah,
anti-Asian hate.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Wait,
And
what ethnicity was the person who complained?
unfortunately, we're in a chat room, but one could only imagine.
I'm just like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
And this
how
is a
I'm feeling.
diversity, equity, inclusion talk?
Exactly. I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up. You, if anything, are making this. You're creating alienation and hostility in this room that's supposed to be learning about belonging, inclusion, because your face isn't showing up. You don't feel like you belong, but that's not what the conversation is.
Yeah, it's just like someone derailing things, just trying to be a troll. I feel like.
Yeah.
A lot.
For real. Sorry, I was gonna say something else, but it's not necessary. All right. Well, I think that has been a good.
Talk.
Yeah.
Good chat. Good
Yeah.
chat to the Japanese.
No, I
and
mean
how
that's
it's affecting. I feel like there is kind of like a disconnect. I feel like people think, oh, the Nazis and the Japanese, that was 1945. That was a long time ago. World War II was a long time ago. That stuff can never happen again. But I feel like it's precisely because people don't know what happened that I feel like it can happen again.
Well, it's not only that, but literally, we may have another depression,
Right.
which is literally what happened prior to all these atrocities happening. And one must think like this is the moment where we need to come together and just not only educate ourselves, but I don't know, like be love. Everyone needs to take, I want to say Molly, but but just be more open-minded, more flexible.
Yeah, I think that
You want to take Molly?
well, not now, right now, but I think it's harder than that though. I think it's harder than just people coming together. I think it's people have to realize that yeah, a lot of the way we act and a lot of the way we respond is due to material conditions. Like we were talking about the McDonald's thing earlier. It kind of almost has to do with that. Like,
because humongous size fries aren't available.
Right. You're probably more mad about that or more mad about Burger King's shitty food than you are about their actual stances on social issues. Like,
I wish I knew what their social issues.
Right, exactly. They don't exactly.
What do you do, Burger King?
But
McDonald's, at least you're helping children with cancer.
But given that, like, don't you see how it's like in their not their, primary interest to even care about that stuff? They know that the average person is more care about the product than the actual stances.
Well,
yeah,
for sure.
They might donate a few $1 million here and there to keep up appearances, but their bottom line is not being affected by it at all.
Well, that's the come on. Look at Chick-fil-A. Like, look at who they support, but yet their
Exactly.
lines, they make more than Burger King
Exactly.
in 6 days.
Because they
Burger King
know
only 7 days.
it's all about the product. Who cares about our stances on these issues? If we make this product, if they make this chicken sandwich and these chicken nuggets good enough, people are going to buy that. We can sell only 6 days a week and we're going to crush other people.
But remember, and this kind of like bleeds into next week, when people do take a stance, it's going to have a major impact in terms of of companies' bottom lines. And I think it's...
Wait, what do you mean by that?
Just remember with the Montgomery bus.
Oh, the protests.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Them striking the buses. They needed African Americans to
Right.
ride the bus.
So, yeah, we'll talk about that more next time, but that requires leverage. You need to have enough people on board with the specific thing that you're talking about in order to create a change. And we'll talk about that more later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So exciting. Thank you so much for continuing to do this with me. This is so much fun.
Thank you for continuing to be here and listening to my rants.
Trust me, it's both ways. You have to listen to my opinions too. Of course, I want to remind everyone, please do make sure to leave questions, comments, concerns, everything in the chat box or comment box, right?
Yeah. Comment box or the email. There's going to be an email.
Please email us.
Questions,
concerns.
Actually, I might do something. I'll for that part next time.
I was like, what are you going to do? Are you telling them before you tell me?
Surprise! I'm going to do something crazy. No, it's not going to be that crazy. But basically, that question answer thing I was talking about that inspired this whole thing? I'm just going to put it up on my Twitter.
Yeah,
so
that might be more. That'd be faster.
Get questions.
Yeah, because who wants to use email? What is it?
Nobody
That's so
wants to do that.
antiquated.
Yeah. All right, then. Until next time, we'll see you later.
Take care of yourselves. Drink water. Stretch.
See ya.
Eat protein.